Jupiter and two of its largest moons. Listen, we will have to wait to confirm whether or not there is life on Europa. Europa isn't the only intriguing place this far out in the solar system. But similar conditions exist on other moons orbiting other planets, even further away from the sun. Orbiting Saturn, there is a small, mysterious moon that is totally different from the rest of its more than 60 moons. This tiny icy moon, only 300 miles across, is Enceladus. In the last few years, this tiny moon has become the main goal for exobiology, as it has revealed some extraordinary conditions for operating life.
What we know about Enceladus, an exploration mission called Cassini. It's a mission that has been going on for many years. It's an orbiter that has been studying the entire Saturn system and its different moons, but it's paying close attention to Enceladus.
The Cassini mission offered us a close-up of this remote world for the first time ever. It took. The surface is white and glittering, and it is carved with fissures, crests, and cracks. At the South Pole, Cassini made a surprising discovery. It photographed some strange, large cracks. Hola, niña. Manteles, manteles. Por dentro. Manteles, manteles. ¿Para cuál? No, estamos viviendo ahí, pues, yo mala para.
Here, four parallel fissures. They are 75 miles long and hundreds of feet deep. They are similar to fault lines on Earth. After several flybys, Cassini's thermal radar revealed something unexpected. The tiger stripes should be colder than the rest of the moon, as they were in the South Pole. However, they were radiating heat. The fissures were at -8 degrees Celsius, which was more than 120 degrees Celsius warmer than the rest of the moon. It's definitely a place where this evidence something is happening. That's all. But the most shocking finding is still to come. When Cassini was reoriented, it captured a shocking image. Vast jets of ice were erupting into space.
The camera was able to image plumes of water, vapor, and ice crystals coming off the south pole of Enceladus.
These actual images showed the plumes were ejecting ice particles hundreds of miles out from the tiger stripes.
Those materials are being ejected through fractures of the surface of the moon, which seem to be connecting the surface with the interior.
However, how this small moon can generate so much heat as to be able to maintain such geothermal activity? Scientists believe that Enceladus might have an internal energy source, like Europa. When it orbits the massive Saturn, friction from gravitational process causes it to heat up, melting ice in the moon's interior in the same way as on Europa.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
These jets were giant geysers of water that erupted from its icy surface, much like those in geological hotspots on Earth.
Cassini actually has a detector that can fly through the plume, pick up some of the particles, and analyze them chemically. And when that detector did its work, it found that some of the particles are salty. And the only way to get salt incorporated into a particle is to have it evaporating directly off of liquid. So that would get another hint that Enceladus has liquid under the surface from which these plumes are emanating.
But could it prove that under the icy crust of Enceladus existed a subsurface ocean, like on Europa?
We needed even more evidence. The next piece of evidence was from Cassini flying past Enceladus and just carefully analyzing its trajectory as it flew past Enceladus to directly measure how Enceladus's gravity was pulling on the spacecraft. And when that analysis was done, it found a density anomaly under the entire South Pole, indicating that you have a regional sea of water from which these plumes are emanating.
These jets might be connected to active hydrothermal vents at a subsurface water ocean floor, where the moon's ocean meets the underlying rock, a prime potential habitat for life. But there still wasn't anything that could prove life existed underneath that icy crust. The probe spectrometers detected something really exciting. They found in the jets the basic chemical building blocks of life.
So Enceladus is fascinating because, as far as we can tell, it contains the three basic ingredients for life: liquid water, nutrients, and organics.
But does this strange and alien world actually support life? The geysers could provide easy access for sampling the moon's subsurface ocean. And if there's microbial life in it, ice particles from the sea could contain the evidence astrobiologists need to identify them.
Lily, Hiro, people you can meet there is Ron tells me dad.
There are two exploration missions proposed by NASA in the near future, trying to find out some life in tiny icy moons. The first one is the Journey to Enceladus and Titan mission. This is an astrobiology mission to assess the habitability of Enceladus and the moons of Saturn. The second mission, waiting for approval and finance, is the life investigation for Enceladus. This proposed mission would capture icy particles from Saturn's moon, Enceladus, and return them to Earth. where they could be studied in detail for signs of life, such as biomolecules.
It's relatively simple, technologically speaking, to send an orbiter to Enceladus that can capture those icy particles in the plume and analyze them in situ or bring them back to Earth for detailed analysis in the laboratory.
Unfortunately, none of these missions have been approved yet. So we still have to wait to unveil the really look in the life of tiny solar moon back. Close to the coast, there is the lab of the great planet for life in the solar system. Titan.
It is one of the largest moons in the solar system, and it is also the
Three
only
ugliest
moon
guns in the
that
world.
is known to have a
Third place is the duckfoot pistol. As its name
Data from
suggests,
Cassini
its barrel
observation
spray out
which flew by Titan in 2004 demonstrated the existence of
Titan is a fascinating world. It's the most alien place in the solar system, so to speak, because in fact, other than the Earth, is the only place we know of that has seas of liquid on the surface. Those seas are not made of water.
In these seas and lakes, there are no waves, as the liquid is liquid methane and ethane, which is much less dense than water liquid. These two hydrocarbons on Earth are volatile gases. But on Titan's minus 180 degrees Celsius temperature, they are liquid.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49 on a power saver device that cut my energy bill in half. They thought I got school.
Titan has a very similar landscape to Earth. There are seas, lakes, smooth rocks on the riverbeds, mountains, valleys, canyons. But these mountains and pebbles are not made by any rock like on the Earth, but they are made of water ice, so frozen due to the minus 180 degrees Celsius temperature on Titan's chilly surface that it behaves like rock. Cassini's radar images showed that on Titan, liquid methane forms clouds, thunderstorms, and even falls as rain.
Methane in the atmosphere also plays a role similar to water in the atmosphere. On Earth, you have a water cycle. On Titan, methane plays a very similar role. It falls to the surface as rain or mist. We do see channels and rivers where methane is flowing across the surface and doing geological work like we would see water do on the surface of the Earth.
Liquid methane has a cycle very similar to Earth's water cycle. The question is, could it behave like water does on Earth, as a liquid that allows organic molecules to dissolve and interact? There is no easy answer to this. Titan's atmosphere also contains many organic gases, such as methane, ethane, and hydrocarbons, and possesses conditions that resemble those of early Earth 4 billion years ago that allowed life to develop.
In many ways, the atmosphere of Titan looks like a young Earth in the fridge, much colder, much cooler. But prebiotic chemistry, the same processes are there. What we don't know is whether these prebiotic processes are turning into something that is biological in nature at the surface of Titan or in the subsurface.
However, liquid methane and ethane are much colder than liquid water by some 200 degrees Celsius, and biochemical reactions would occur at painstakingly slow rates. These compounds are also far less capable as solvents compared to water, and therefore much less life-inducing. Water is also missing from the picture due to freezing temperatures of minus 178 degrees Celsius. Several experiments have shown that with an atmosphere similar to that of Titan and the addition of UV radiation, complex molecules of polymer substances like tholins can be generated. Substances that could be considered a sort of precursor to life.
What weirdo chemistry, physics, biology could be. People are trying to think in terms of what could be biology based on method. That's not the best, apparently, when it comes to provide a structure for biochemistry.
The conclusion is that Titan is a world rich in organic matter, but the methane cycle, comparable in atmospheric and geological processes to Earth's water cycle, that is really likely to harbor life. In the last years, NASA and ESA have combined efforts to develop an unmanned space mission that could finally unveil all the Titan's mysteries, but none of them have been approved yet. One of the most exciting missions proposed to unveil the secrets of the methane and methane lakes of Titan is NASA's Titan submarine. This submarine will explore the depths of the Kraken Mare, the largest known body of liquid on the surface. This mission would be designed to measure the organic constituents of Titan and would have performed the first nautical exploration of an extraterrestrial sea, analyze its nature, and possibly observe its shoreline. As the other proposed mission to Titan, this Titan submarine mission hasn't been given the green light yet.
There's lots of really fun options for exploring Titan, but NASA has not actually selected one of these options.
Therefore, to date, there are no confirmed space missions to Titan in the coming years. But everything could change if a shocking discovery is made in the near future. Whether or not any of these potential space missions finally reveal the existence of life on Mars, Europa, Enceladus, Titan is unknown. But what we do know is that now we are much closer than ever to finally finding an answer to the question of whether there is life beyond Earth.
This is from. Oh, look at this. How far I stuck. How far I stuck.
50 years ago, the era of robotic exploration of our solar system was just beginning. In July 1965,
What the hell?
the Mariner 4 probe sent the first close-up images of Mars. Those blurred images show that Mars did not have vegetation, much less canals crisscrossing the planet as envisioned by earlier generations of astronomers. At that time, the most widespread opinion was that Mars was not just the red planet, but also a dead planet, with the chances for life of any kind being considered infinitesimal. Things have radically changed since 1965, thanks to the extraordinary advances of technology that have led us to use more and more sophisticated space probes to explore our neighbors in the solar system. The three vital factors, energy, liquids, and chemical building blocks, are more widespread than has ever been realized. Now it's not so unlikely to find life beyond the Earth in our solar system. We can't deny that such a huge discovery, even if it were just microbial life, would be really shocking for mankind, as it would imply the first step toward believing that we may not be totally alone in the universe. Then, the right conditions could also exist beyond the boundaries of our own solar system, in distant outer space. The Earth has been on one for millions of years.
However, sometime soon, the Earth may no longer be our only, and we will start to spread out, searching for new places to live. It's possible that in the near future, the Earth could become uninhabitable due to climate change, overpopulation.
Sooner or later, for the planet Earth, we're going to need another habitat.
As a result, we may need to move and create a new, inalterable, distant space colony.
Really, in coming years, there will be several activities on the surface of the moon.
The recent discovery of huge amounts of water in the main poles and on Mars has encouraged public institutions as NASA, working European space agencies, and private projects that will help us to settle in such distant and harsh environments in the near future. Another option might be a future settlement in an orbital space colony, even on a nearby asteroid. In any case, it's not an easy task at all. We would require habitats, storage facilities, shop workspaces, renewable energy sources, food production spaces, and equipment. In the end, we need to solve huge difficulties such as the exposure of lethal cosmic radiation, and the lack of investment. Resources.
When you go to unite your minus 190.
In Mars, the difficulties are even more challenging due to the increased distance from Earth, which implies a much longer interplanetary spaceflight of 6 to 9 months. This is changing information still exposed to zero gravity and lethal cosmic radiation. The unstoppable technological breakthroughs suggest that in the near future, we will be able to overcome all these challenges.
That creates the greatest investment.
Citizens who might live on the moon or Mars will remember the moment they established their first space colonies as one of the greatest milestones of humanity. Human beings have always been fascinated by that mysterious dark space outside Earth. The beginning of the colonization of space may be dated to 1957, when a first historic step took place that would mean the beginning of the space race.
Earth is established on top of that. That was Sputnik. Sputnik 1.
Just 4 years later, in 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into outer space and to complete an orbital flight.
Technological progression continued. So the rockets got bigger and bigger. You're finding it. First landed on July 20th, 1969.
Neil Armstrong reached an unbelievable milestone. He was the first human ever to walk on the lunar surface.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49 on a power saver device that could cut my energy bill. I got some. But when I put in my super low,
Just 2 years later, an important new step occurred in the conquest of space. In 1971,
The Soviet Union launched Soyuz 1, the first manned space station to orbit the Earth. It didn't take long for the United States to launch its own space station, Skylab, which orbited Earth from 1973 to 1979. The next step was the Mir space station. It was a modular space station run by the Soviet Union and later by Russia, which was assembled in orbit from 1986 to 1996. The mission ended in 2001 when it was finally deorbited. It was the first continuously inhabited long-term research space station in orbit ever. In fact, Mir could be considered a precursor to a space colony. 1998 was a key year in the adventure of space colonization. That year, the first component of the International Space Station was launched into orbit. This space station is a joint project among European, Canadian, Japanese, and Russian space agencies and NASA. It is the largest man-made object built in space today. It has the size of a soccer field with 72 meters length and 108 meters width.
International Space Station is a wonderful lab, and we can do a lot of science over there. We can do inspiration to people. We can raise awareness of people by reports of the astronauts.
Since 2000, astronauts, cosmonauts, and even space tourists from 17 different nations have continuously occupied.
The beauty of the International Space Station is not only the research, but
28.
All of the space stations might be considered the first steps to a future space colonization, as they have proved that we really are able to survive in cold, dark space.
And like 9 minutes, check and if it 8, I got 9. Yeah.
Human beings have always felt the impulse to explore and discover new frontiers. From Christopher Columbus, who crossed the ocean to discover America, to Amundsen, who traveled to the South and North Poles. There have always been intrepid explorers that dare to go one step forward to see new worlds. Now, our next frontier beyond the Earth is somewhere orbiting the Earth, or on the surfaces of the Moon, Mars, or even asteroids.
always have the fun. Next Sunday,
In addition to the innate curiosity that leads human beings to always go one step further, there are other reasons to find new places to colonize beyond the Earth. The first of them is that we might really have the need, in case our own planet deteriorates so much that we can no longer live there.
Yeah, like
The most important reason why we should go into space is to safeguard our own existence. Because sooner or later, planet Earth, we're going to need an
people are still involved and so many others have predicted that if we don't have human settlements in space, the future of humanity is
One of the biggest hazards that humanity might face would be money to buy lost hazards to right website.
probability that big asteroid might hit the Earth, like it was done in the past when the dinosaurs started out.
If an asteroid were 5 miles long, it would cause major expansion. One that may have marked the end of the age of dinosaurs. There is also the possibility of a massive man-made disaster that might obligate us to leave the Earth. As climate change, industry-linked disasters,
around in the night, you do have.
So one of the biggest menaces we are facing in a quite short period of time. It could cause a huge humanitarian disaster affecting millions of people.
I didn't know. No.
On another front, overpopulation is also threatening our civilization. As a future scenario of scarcity approaches in which there won't be enough resources for the Earth's population. In such situations, having an alternative place to live could be the only way for our civilizations to survive. Trading is not for everyone, but if you are a trader, Plus 500 is the place for you. With just a few clicks, you can open an unlimited demo account and start trading futures on the most popular forex pairs, indices, energy, metals, and more. You can also stay in control at all times, even when on the go, with our mobile apps. When you are ready, check out the real thing and join the many who have already chosen Plus 500. Visit Plus 500 and get started. Plus 500 is trading with a plus. Trading in futures and options carries substantial risk of loss and isn't suitable for every investor.
Porque desgraciadamente hoy pago mis biles, ¿ok? Okay.
But there is also a huge, powerful reason that encourages human beings to go beyond the Earth. Space colonization will bring us a new, huge industry created around new resources found off the Earth. Resources in space, both in materials and energy, are enormous. And we know that sooner or later, we will run out of resources here on Earth as they are scarce and limited.
All the resources that humans need on Earth are now in space. We have the science and the technology that we know we can capture.
The solar system alone has, according to different estimates, enough material and energy to support anyone from several thousand to over 1 billion times that of a current Earth-based human population.
For now, a tiny fraction of the asteroid belt is more than enough to supply virtually unlimited material for space industrialization and space colonization.
Harnessing these resources could lead to much economic development.
At some point in the next 500 years, I expect the economy in orbit to be bigger than the economy on the ground. There's more space there. There's more material. It's accessible. And there's more gravity and doing more interesting industrial processes.
The fact that we are exploiting and using expendable resources on Earth, and those resources are out there in space, makes the obvious conclusion.
The building of a space colony would present a series of huge technological and economic challenges. A space colony would have to be self-sufficient to be able to serve thousands of humans in an environment very hostile to human beings. Depending on the location of a space colony, whether in orbit or planet-based, there are two main types. The first type would be the space habitats or the orbital colonies.
An orbital space colony or space zone is in orbit. So it's actually orbiting around the sun, around the Earth, around the moon, in what's sometimes called free space or low orbit.
The International Space Station, or the former Mir Space Station, could be considered as precursors of these orbital space habitats. A second type of colonies
would be the surface-based colonies that would exist on the surfaces of planets, moons, or asteroids. Although nowadays it seems that surface-based colonies are the best option, there are, however, certain reasons to support the building of an orbital colony. A space colony in orbit around the Earth would have many important advantages over the surface-based colonies on the Moon, or on Mars, or on asteroids. The first advantage is the proximity to Earth. Travel back and forth to Earth should take only a few hours. Bringing supplies, materials, and specialized equipment from Earth to support construction would be relatively easy. In addition, there's another advantage to being close to the Earth. The protection from cosmic radiation that is provided by the Earth's magnetic field.
If you put your orbital settlement in exactly the right place, namely directly over the Earth's equator, not more than 500, 600, 700 kilometers high, you're protected by the Earth's magnetic field. And the total amount of radiation is much, much, much lower in low Earth orbit over the equator than it is on the surface of Mars.
However, in a very high orbit around Earth, far from the protection of Earth's atmosphere and magnetosphere, or around the Moon or Mars or an asteroid, the hazard of radiation would be extremely high. Those settlers would suffer long-term exposure to dangerously high doses of radiation. Another pro of the orbital space colonies would be the continuous, ample, reliable solar energy. In a high enough orbit, there is no night. Solar power is available 24/7 in most high orbits. Although in high, low Earth orbit, there is some darkness during each orbit as a structure passes through the Earth's shadow.
Depending on what orbit you're in, you may have better access to solar energy. Not so much in low Earth orbit, but if you're in higher orbits, you have access to solar energy.
Solar panels for settlements would have to be huge in order to generate enough power. This power might be generated on separate solar power satellites and beamed to the settlement. The construction of these structures would be weightless. Zero gravity construction means big settlements can be built with relative ease.
Some of the advantages of orbital settlements are it's a little easier to build micro things because you're operating in microgravity.
Under zero gravity conditions, several industrial processes can be done much more easily than on Earth. Astronauts are able to move very heavy objects, up to a few tons of weight, without any help. Therefore, the lack of gravity can facilitate the construction of a ground structure that is several miles high without its collapsing under its own weight. A near-Earth orbital colony would also generate important economic development as it encourages new energy or tourism markets. When these future orbital space settlements grow, they would be like cities in space. Raise children. However, these orbital settlements would have several cons.
The biggest con for orbital settlement versus surface settlement is access to materials. There aren't any materials in orbits at all.
Another con would be the permanent lack of gravity, or the microgravity, that is the gravity force one experiments in low Earth orbit, as happens in the International Space Station. The lack of gravity has very negative effects on human health, such as bone and muscle loss, vision disorders, or headaches. One solution might be to build huge circular structures that spin and create at least a sense of gravity. This artificial gravity would be created using a centripetal force. In the context of a rotating space station,
It would be the spacecraft hull that provides the necessary centripetal force to simulate gravity.
So it's the concept that this thing is going to be spun at a certain rate to create a sense of gravity, which again is not a real gravity. As a matter of fact, the only thing that feels gravity is pushing against the outer surface.
There are many proposed designs and concepts for orbital space colonies. However, unfortunately, as of today, no specific project has yet been developed. There is another type of space colony, the surface-based colonies that would exist on or below the surfaces of planets, moons, or asteroids. The situation regarding this is very different compared to orbital space colonies, as there are signal fields for them. In fact, in 2010, NASA approved a very ambitious program called A Journey to Mars, whose ultimate goal is to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. In addition, ESA, the European Space Agency, has an exciting concept for a future human settlement on the moon, the Moon Pill.
Developments underway with NASA, like the Space Launch System and the Orion capsule, to put astronauts in orbit around Mars in 2030s.
Engineers and scientists are working hard to develop the technologies astronauts will use to one day live and work on Mars and safely return home from the next giant leap for humanity.
The challenges during the Moon expedition are historic compared to robotic expeditions. You need to launch heavy vehicles from the Earth. You need habitat and transit from the Earth to Mars. You need propulsion to speed the rate of travel up, because it takes typically 6 months. And there's a lot of radiation from galactic cosmic rays and solar flares. They're just not good for astronauts.
International space agencies collaborate with the commercial space industry, such as SpaceX, for Blue Origin, a coordinated expansion of human presence in the solar system. Wow. With human missions to the surface of Mars as the main goal.
What's new in space is the proof that public-private partnership works. When the private industry has to pay some of the costs, much more efficient. You get the efficiency of the private sector. You get the deep pockets of the government. You get fantastic.
Founded by related to break the barriers, break the laws, and the things that are stopping us from doing launch. And this includes both high-cost space launch, but also, frankly, the timidity of bureaucracy that's unwilling to accept the kind of risks that involve to just go.
This collaboration between private companies such as SpaceX and public institutions will soon produce great results in the adventure of the colonization of Mars.
So these people, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musks of the world, are very serious about making space work for humanity and do good for humanity back here on Earth.
Unbelievable advances in science and technology have allowed us to achieve milestones unimaginable in the past.